The emergency alarm echoed through the crystal halls of the Etherian Council building. Ambassador Zixtal's tentacles trembled as he read the latest report from the border systems. The Vorthach Empire had destroyed another colony. 300,000 peaceful beings had died in less than 6 hours. "How many ships do they have now?" asked Council Member Veltar, her blue skin pale with fear. "Our scouts counted over 2,000 vessels in their main fleet," Zixtal replied. His voice carried the weight of despair that had settled over the Galactic Confederation in recent months. "They move from system to system like a plague. Everything they touch dies." The Confederation had never faced anything like the Vorthach Empire. For over 800 years, the alliance of 7 peaceful species had grown and prospered. Trade flowed between worlds. Knowledge was shared freely. Wars were ancient history, spoken of only in old tales that no one really believed anymore. The Vorthach changed everything. They came from beyond the Outer Rim, a species that seemed to live only for conquest and destruction. Their black ships appeared without warning. They demanded surrender. When peaceful beings tried to negotiate, the Vorthach opened fire. Entire worlds burned under their weapons. "What about our defense fleets?" asked Mordic, the representative from the Silicon Mines Collective. Zixtal's shoulders sagged. "Gone. All of them. The Vorthach ships are too strong. Our weapons barely scratch their hulls. Our best admirals say we need at least 10 ships to destroy one of theirs. We don't have 10 ships left." The council chamber fell silent. Outside the tall windows, the peaceful city of New Harmony continued its daily rhythm. Citizens walked the floating bridges between the towers. Children played in the parks. None of them knew that their entire civilization might end within weeks. "There must be something we can do," whispered Kalmuth, her insect-like wings clicking. Nervously, "Some species we haven't contacted. Some weapon we haven't built." "We've tried everything," Zixtal said. "The Thorian Republic offered to help, but their ships are even weaker than ours. The crystal entities won't fight at all. They say violence goes against their nature. The Machine Collective calculated that resistance is pointless." In the corner of the chamber, a young researcher named Kethmer cleared his throat. The sound was so quiet that most council members didn't hear it, but Zixtal noticed. "Do you have something to say, Kethmer?" The young Etherian's skin flushed purple with embarrassment. I might have found something, but it's probably nothing." "Tell us," Zixtal urged. "At this point, nothing is too small to consider." Kethmer activated his datapad and projected an image into the center of the chamber. It showed a small yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. The third planet from the star glowed blue and green. "I was searching through the old exploration records," Kethmer began, "looking for any species we might have missed. Most systems in our database have been contacted or studied, but this one, ... He pointed at the blue planet. "This one has a species we've never talked to. Why not?" asked Veltar. "Because their planet is classified as a Class 12 death world." The council chamber erupted in shocked gasps. Class 12 was the highest danger rating in their system. It meant a world so hostile that no known species could survive there. "That's impossible," said Mordic.
Yes.
"Nothing lives on a Class 12 world. The environment would kill any biological life form."
That's
"What I thought too," Kethmer said. "But the records show clear signs of intelligent life. Cities, technology, space travel. They call themselves humans, and their world is named Terra." Zixtal leaned forward. "What makes their planet so dangerous?" Kethmer pulled up more data. The holographic display showed weather patterns that made the council members recoil in horror. Massive storms that could level cities, temperature swings that ranged from freezing to boiling, earthquakes that split continents, volcanoes that poisoned the air. "Their world tries to kill them every day," Kethmer explained. "The weather alone would destroy most of our cities. But somehow, they not only survive, they thrive. They've built a technological civilization despite living in constant danger." "What do we know about them as a species?" asked Kalamuth. "It's very little. They're carbon-based like most of us. They breathe oxygen and nitrogen. They appear to be bipedal mammals. But here's the strange part." Kethmer highlighted a section of data Every scan we've done suggests they're incredibly hardy. Their bodies can handle radiation levels that would kill us. They can survive in temperatures that would freeze or cook other species. They seem designed for survival. Veltar shook her head. Even if they exist, what could they do against the Vorthach? We have 7 species working together and we're losing. Maybe that's the problem, Zixtal said quietly. All eyes turned to him. We're 7 peaceful species. We've never had to fight for our lives. We've never faced real danger. But these humans, they fight their own planet every day just to stay alive. The thought hung in the air like a heavy weight. The Confederation had grown strong through cooperation and trade. They solved problems with discussion and compromise. Violence was foreign to them, something they had evolved beyond. But what if evolution had taken a different path on Terra? What if an entire species had been forged by constant struggle and danger? It's worth considering, said Mordic slowly. Our gentle approach isn't working against the Vorthach. Maybe we need to think differently. There's one more thing, Kethmer added. According to our deep space monitors, they've been expanding beyond their home system. They have colonies on several worlds now. Some of those worlds are almost as dangerous as Terra itself. Zixtal stood up, decision forming in his mind. Send a message to Terra. Use the basic mathematical language protocol. Tell them who we are and what we face. Ask if they're willing to help. But Ambassador Veltar protested. We don't know anything about them. It could be worse than the Vorthach. Look around you, Zixtal replied, gesturing to the data screen showing burning worlds. In 3 weeks, the Vorthach will reach our core systems. In 6 weeks, they'll be here. We'll all be dead or enslaved. What do we have to lose? The vote was close, but it passed. As the council members filed out to return to their dying worlds, Kethmer began preparing the message that would travel across the galaxy to a small blue planet, where strange creatures called humans lived on a world. That should have killed them long ago. The message was simple. We are the Galactic Confederation. We are dying. Please help us. Nobody in that chamber could imagine what would happen when the Deathworlders from Terra received their desperate plea. They couldn't picture the reaction in the war rooms of Earth when military leaders realized that an entire galaxy of peaceful beings was being slaughtered by bullies. They had no idea that they were about to discover what 8 billion years of the most hostile evolution in the galaxy had created. The message streaked through space toward Sol System, carrying with it the last hope of 7 civilizations. Behind it, the Vorthach fleets continued, their advance confident that nothing in the galaxy could stop them. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the strangest signal ever recorded reached his ship. The Hughes Valiant was 3 days out from Mars, running a routine patrol of the outer shipping lanes. Nothing exciting ever happened. Out here, pirates avoided the heavy patrol routes, and alien contact was still just science fiction to most people. Captain, you need to see this, called Lieutenant Gary Chen from the communications station. His voice carried a tone Jake had never heard before, part excitement, part confusion, part fear. Jake set down his coffee and walked to the comm station. What do you have, Gary? It's a transmission, sir. But it's not from any human source. The pattern is completely wrong. It started with basic math, then moved to physics, then chemistry. Now it's trying to teach us a language. Jake stared at the scrolling data on the screen. The signal was clearly artificial, but the source was impossible to trace. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. How long has this been running? 6 hours, sir? It started while you were sleeping. The computer has been recording everything. Jake hit the emergency button that sent a priority message to Fleet Command. This was way above his pay grade. Keep recording, and Gary, don't mention this to anyone else yet. 3 hours later, Jake found himself in a video conference with Admiral Lisa Carter, head of the Solar Defense Force. Her office on Luna Station was crowded with other officials Jake didn't recognize. Captain Morrison, Admiral Carter began. We've confirmed that ships across the fleet are receiving this signal. Our best linguists have been working on it. The message appears to be a distress call. A woman Jake didn't know leaned into the camera. I'm Dr. Susan Blake, Xenolinguistics Department. Captain, this is incredible. The signal contains mathematical proofs, physical constants, even star charts. Whoever sent this has technology far beyond ours. What does the message say? Jake. Dr. Blake looked uncomfortable. It's hard to translate exactly, but the basic meaning is clear. Someone called the Galactic Confederation is under attack. They're asking for help. They want to meet. General Paul Rodriguez appeared on screen from the Pentagon. Jake recognized him from the news. Captain, we need to proceed very carefully here. This could be a trap. Or worse, it could be real, and we could be walking into a war we can't win. Admiral Carter nodded. That's why we're sending you, Jake. The Valiant is our newest ship, and you have the best crew for a situation like this. But you won't be going alone. Jake's screen changed to show a tactical display. 12 ships were moving into formation. Around his position, the fleet included 2 heavy cruisers, 4 destroyers, and 5 support vessels. Ma'am, isn't this a bit much for a first contact mission? Jake asked. Captain General Rodriguez said grimly. If these aliens are really under attack by something strong enough to threaten an entire galactic confederation, we need to know what we're dealing with. This fleet is insurance. The coordinates in the alien message led to a point in space 2 weeks away at maximum burn. Jake spent those weeks studying everything the linguists could translate from the ongoing transmissions. The picture that emerged was disturbing. The Galactic Confederation consisted of 7 peaceful alien species. They had lived together in harmony for centuries. Now something called the Vorthach Empire was destroying them, world by world. The aliens sounded desperate, terrified, and completely out of their depth. They've never fought a real war, Dr. Susan Blake explained during one of their daily briefings. From what we can tell, they've evolved beyond violence. They solve disputes through discussion and compromise. Now they're facing genocidal maniacs, added Colonel Danny Wright, the fleet's Marine commander. No wonder they're losing. When the human fleet reached the coordinates, Jake was surprised to find only a single alien ship waiting for them. It was beautiful in a strange way, all flowing curves and crystal panels that seemed to glow from within. But it was also tiny compared to the human vessels. Captain Gary reported, "We're receiving a transmission from the alien ship. It's in that same mathematical language, but Dr. Blake says she can translate it now." Dr. Blake's voice came over the comm system, "Captain. They're asking why we brought so many ships. They seem ... confused." Jake frowned. "Tell them this is standard procedure for first contact." A few minutes later, Dr. Blake responded. "Sir, they want to know if we consider them a threat. They're sending specifications for their ship. Captain, their weapons are designed for mining and construction, not combat." That explained a lot. Jake ordered the fleet to power down weapons and maintain a respectful distance. Then he did something that would be talked about in military academies for generations. "Prep the shuttle," he told his crew. "Going over." "There, sir," Colonel Wright protested. "We have no idea what their atmosphere is like. You could be walking into a death trap." Jake was already suiting up. "Danny, if they wanted to kill us, they wouldn't need to trick us into boarding there. Ship, they have our coordinates now. If they have planet-killer weapons, we're already dead." The shuttle ride to the alien ship took only 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. Jake had volunteered for the space program because he wanted to explore the unknown. He had never imagined the unknown would come looking for him. The alien ship extended a docking tube to his shuttle. As Jake approached the airlock, his suit's sensors analyzed the atmosphere on the other side. The results made him stop and think. "Base, this is Morrison. Their atmosphere is breathable. Oxygen, nitrogen, trace gases. It's cleaner than most cities on Earth. Don't take any chances, Captain." Admiral Carter's voice crackled through the, "Come, keep your suit on." But Jake was already making a decision that would change everything. He understood that first impressions mattered. If he wanted these aliens to trust humans, he needed to show trust first. Jake unsealed his helmet and took a breath of alien air. It was sweet and clean, with a faint floral scent. He felt fine. More than fine, he felt energized. The airlock opened to reveal 3 beings that looked like they had stepped out of a dream. Were tall and graceful, with tentacles instead of arms and skin that shifted through different shades of blue and purple. Their eyes were large and kind, filled with intelligence and something that looked very much like hope. One of them stepped forward, spoke in heavily accented English. "Welcome, Captain Morrison. I am Ambassador Zixtel of the Etherian Council. We are grateful beyond words that you came." "It's good to meet you, Ambassador," Jake replied. "Though I have to ask, how did you learn our language so quickly?" "I have been monitoring your transmissions for weeks, trying to understand your species. Your entertainment broadcasts were very educational." Zixtel's tentacles moved in what Jake somehow knew was amusement. "We particularly enjoyed something called action movies, though we found them difficult to believe." Jake followed the aliens through corridors that seemed grown rather than built. Everything curved and flowed like the inside of a seashell. The technology was clearly advanced, but it felt organic, live. They entered a chamber filled with holographic displays showing star maps and battle reports. Oh, Jake's breath caught as he saw the scale of the destruction. Entire solar systems were marked in red. Billions of beings had died. "This is what we face," Zixtel said simply. "The Vorthach Empire grows stronger with each world they conquer. Our military analysts predict that our core systems will fall within 6 weeks." Jake studied the tactical displays with a professional eye. The alien formations were neat and orderly, but predictable. Their ships were designed for exploration and trade, not warfare. Against them, the Vorthach fleets moved like hungry predators. "Ambassador," Jake said carefully, "can you tell me about your military experience?" Zixtel's skin shifted to a pale green color that Jake was learning meant confusion. "Military experience?" "Your wars, your conflicts." "How do your people usually handle violence?" "We don't," said another alien Jake hadn't been introduced to. "Violence is... it's what primitive species do before they evolve wisdom." Jake felt his blood run cold. These beings had never fought a real war. They were facing genocidal killers with the mindset of diplomats and scientists. "What about your homeworlds?" Jake asked. "Surely you've had to deal with natural disasters. Predators, hostile environments." "Our worlds are peaceful," Zixtel explained. "We chose them specifically for their gentle climates and lack of dangerous life forms." "Why would anyone want to live on a dangerous planet?" The question hung in the air as Jake realized just how different humans were from these aliens. They had spent millennia choosing safe, comfortable worlds while humans had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every single day. "Ambassador," Jake said slowly, "I think we need to have a longer conversation. My people might be able to help you, but first you need to understand what humans are." "We would be grateful for any assistance," Zixtel replied. "But surely you understand our situation. We are peaceful beings facing extinction. What could one species do that 7 together cannot?" Jake looked at the tactical displays again, seeing patterns the aliens had missed. He thought about the 12 human warships waiting outside, built by a species that had turned warfare into a science. Colonel Danny Wright had seen combat on 3 different worlds, but nothing had prepared him for what he witnessed through the observation scope of the stealth ship Shadowrunner. The Vorthach fleet was destroying the mining colony on Kepler 438b, and their methods made his stomach turn. "Are they even trying to be efficient?" asked Major Kim Taylor, who was recording everything for later analysis. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. Danny adjusted the scope's focus and watched another Vorthach ship fire on a civilian transport that was clearly trying to evacuate families. The transport exploded in a ball of fire, taking 200 innocent lives with it. "No," Danny said grimly. "They're not trying to be efficient. They're trying to be cruel." The Shadowrunner held position behind a large asteroid, using passive sensors to observe the attack. Captain Morrison had sent them here 3 days ago with clear orders. Watch the Vorthach in action and figure out how they fight.
What, Danny?
Saul made him realize that humanity was dealing with something worse than mere conquerors. "They're torturing them," whispered Lieutenant Ryan Brooks from the technical station. His job was to analyze Vorthach equipment and tactics, but even his professional comm was cracking. "Look at that formation. They could end this battle in 10 minutes, but they were dragging it out." Danny followed Ryan's pointing finger and saw what he meant. The Vorthach had enough firepower to destroy the entire colony with a single coordinated strike. Instead, they were taking turns. One ship would attack a building, then pull back and let another ship attack a different target. They were making the dying last as long as possible. Psychological warfare, Kim realized. They want other colonies to see what happens when you resist them. Fear is their weapon, and they've never met humans, Danny muttered. The battle continued for 6 hours. It finally ended. Nothing remained of the colony except burning, wreckage, and floating debris. The Vorthach ships formed up in a neat formation and jumped to hyperspace. Heading toward their next target, Danny waited another hour to make sure they were really gone, then ordered his ship to move closer to the destruction. What they found in the wreckage would change everything humanity thought about their new enemy. "Colonel, you need to see this," Ryan called from his station. Picking up intact Vorthach technology in the debris field. Looks like they lost. A small fighter during the battle? Danny felt his heart rate increase. Captured enemy technology was worth its weight in gold. Can we retrieve it? Already on it, sir. Deploying recovery drones now. 20 minutes later, they had pieces of Vorthach technology aboard their ship. Ryan immediately began his analysis while Kim reviewed the tactical data they had recorded. Danny sent a priority message back to the human fleet, then settled in to wait for his team's findings. What they discovered over the next few hours would give humanity its first real advantage in the coming war. Colonel Ryan said, looking up. From a piece of alien electronics, this is incredible. And not in a good way. Explain. Why? This is from their fighter's navigation system. The technology is amazing. It can calculate hyperspace jumps with precision we can only dream of. But look at this. Pointed to a small section of the device. It's designed to work in only one specific environment. Perfect vacuum. Zero gravity. No electromagnetic interference. Danny frowned. What happens if you use it planet-side? It stops working. The moment you introduce atmosphere, gravity, or magnetic fields, the whole system crashes. Ryan's expression was grim. Colonel, their entire technology base is built for space combat only. They literally cannot fight effectively on planets. Kim looked up from her tactical analysis. That explains what I'm seeing in their attack patterns. They never landed troops on the colony. They just bombarded it from orbit. Every engagement in our database shows the same thing. They stay in space and shoot down. What about their personal equipment? Danny asked. Ryan pulled out another piece of salvage, what looked like part of a Vorthach soldier's armor. Same problem. This armor is designed for zero-G combat in vacuum. It's got perfect environmental seals and integrated life support. But the mobility systems are all wrong for planetary gravity. A human in this armor would move like he was underwater. Danny began to smile. It was not a pleasant expression. So, they're space pirates who've never had to fight a ground war. It gets better, Kim added, pulling up her tactical display. Look at their fleet formations. They're beautiful, perfect geometric patterns that maximize firepower and minimize vulnerabilities. For space combat, and for planetary defense, Danny prompted, they'd be sitting ducks. Those formations assume three-dimensional movement in all directions. But if you're defending a planet, you can only attack from one side, from space. Their formations actually create blind spots that ground-based weapons could exploit. Danny leaned back in his chair, pieces of a larger puzzle clicking into place in his mind. Ryan, what did you find out about their weapons? High-energy plasma? Cannons? Gravitic torpedoes? Some kind of exotic particle beam? Ryan replied. All incredibly powerful. All designed for ship-to-ship combat at long range. Range requirements? Minimum effective distance of 50,000 kilometers. Below that, Their targeting systems can't lock on fast enough. Ryan paused. Colonel, these weapons are useless for close-range fighting. If you could get within 50,000 clicks of their ships, they'd have to rely on point defense systems. Which are designed for what? Stopping missiles and debris? Not for fighting other ships? Danny stood up and walked to the observation port, looking out at the debris field that had once been a peaceful mining colony. Somewhere in that wreckage were the bodies of beings who had never hurt anyone, killed by bullies who thought they were invincible. Kim, send everything we've learned back to Admiral Carter. Priority Alpha encryption. Already done, sir. It's Ryan. I want you to keep analyzing that equipment. Find every weakness, every limitation, every design flaw. What are you thinking, Colonel? Kim asked. Danny turned back to his team, and they both recognized the expression on his face. It was the same look he'd worn before the Battle of Titan, when he'd figured out how to break the pirate blockade that had held the outer colonies hostage for 6 months. I'm thinking these Vorthach have been fighting kindergarten children for so long, they've forgotten what real predators look like. Danny returned to his command chair and began plotting a course for the next system on their intelligence list. They were about to get a very unpleasant education. The Shadow Runner slipped away from the debris field and jumped to hyperspace. Behind them, the wreckage of the mining colony continued to drift through space, silent testimony to Vorthach cruelty. But the silence would not last forever. 3 days later, Danny's report reached Admiral Carter on Luna Station. The Admiral read it twice, then called an emergency meeting with her senior staff. Dr. Susan Blake was there, along with General Rodriguez and Captain Morrison, who had returned from his meeting with the aliens. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Carter began. Colonel Wright has given us something invaluable, a complete tactical analysis of our enemy. The short version is this. The Vorthach are technologically advanced but tactically primitive. They're bullies who've never faced real resistance. What's our next move? Asked General Rodriguez. Captain Morrison leaned forward. Ma'am, I've been talking with Ambassador Zixtel and his people. They're good beings, but they think like diplomats, not soldiers. They keep asking if we can negotiate with the Vorthach. Can we? Dr. Blake asked. Jake's right, Admiral Carter replied. I've read the Confederation's records of first contact with the Vorthach. They tried negotiation. The Vorthach responded by destroying their diplomatic vessel and everyone on it. Room fell silent as the implications sank in. So what do we do? Morrison asked. Admiral Carter stood up and activated the main display screen. It showed a tactical map of Vorthach positions throughout the galaxy. Red markers indicated their conquered territories. Yellow markers showed systems under attack. Green markers showed Confederation worlds still holding out. We do what humans have always done when faced with bullies, the Admiral said quietly. We show them what happens when they pick on someone who can fight back. She turned to face her. Officers, and each of them, saw something in her expression that made them sit up straighter. Gentlemen, Dr. Blake, it's time to introduce the Vorthach Empire to the concept of a fair fight. I have a feeling they're not going to like it very much. The first Vorthach fleet to encounter human forces was patrolling the outer edge of the Kepler system when Commodore Steve Collins made his entrance. The human battle group dropped out of hyperspace not in the expected formation 50,000 kilometers away, but scattered across a debris field that the Vorthach had dismissed as impassable. Contact the lead Vorthach vessel, Collins ordered from the bridge of the UES Retribution. Standard diplomatic frequency. Channel open, sir, reported Communications Officer Lisa Park. Collins leaned forward in his command chair. Vorthach Fleet. This is Commodore Collins of the Human Solar Defense Force. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately and release all prisoners. The response came back in heavily accented Standard Galactic. Unknown species, you will surrender your vessels or be destroyed. We are the Vorthach Empire. Resistance is futile. Collins smiled the same smile that had made pirates surrender without firing a shot during the Asteroid Belt campaign. Vorthach Fleet. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal. After that, we will demonstrate why resistance to the Vorthach Empire is not only possible, but inevitable. You dare threaten us? Came the incredulous reply. We have 50 ships to your 12. Our technology is superior to anything in this galaxy. 20 seconds, Collins said calmly. On the tactical display, the Vorthach fleet was moving into their standard attack formation, a perfect geometric pattern that maximized overlapping fields of fire. It was exactly what human intelligence had predicted. 10 seconds. The Vorthach ships powered up their main weapons, plasma cannons that could reduce a city to ash in moments. Their admiral was probably wondering why the humans weren't running. Time's up, Collins said quietly. All ships, execute Operation Wildfire. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries. Captain Beth Turner was commanding the stealth frigate, Ghost, when she received Collins' signal. Her ship had been hiding behind a large asteroid for 6 hours, using passive sensors to track Vorthach movements. The moment the enemy fleet committed to their attack formation, she struck. The Ghost burst from behind the asteroid at full acceleration, diving straight toward the Vorthach command ship. The enemy had 3 seconds to realize something was wrong. Before Beth's ship passed through their formation at point-blank range, unleashing every weapon she had, human kinetic cannons weren't as powerful as Vorthach plasma weapons. But they worked just fine at 3 kilometers range. The command ship's shields, designed to stop long-range energy attacks, crumpled like paper against hypervelocity slugs. Secondary explosions tore through the vessel as Beth's ship vanished back into the asteroid field. But that was just the beginning, Major. Tony Garcia had positioned his marine assault ships on 3 different asteroids, using magnetic clamps to anchor them to the rocks. When the Vorthach formation opened up to pursue the Ghost, Garcia's ships detached from their hiding spots and attacked from below. The Vorthach had never faced enemies that could use terrain for cover in space combat. Their tactical computers had no response protocols for ships that emerged from asteroid surfaces. 3 more Vorthach vessels died before their fleet realized they were being hunted. Scatter formation, the Vorthach admiral ordered. Find these humans and destroy them. That was exactly what Collins had been waiting for. The moment the Vorthach broke their perfect formation, human ships appeared from hiding spots throughout the debris field. They had been there for hours, using skills learned from centuries of asteroid mining and deep space salvage operations. Every piece of space junk, every floating rock, every bit of debris had become a potential hiding place for human forces. Commander Jack Phillips led the main attack from the heavy cruiser Thunderstrike. His ship had been disguised as a large asteroid covered in reflective coating and fake mineral deposits. When he powered up his engines and opened fire, the Vorthach thought they were being attacked by the debris field itself. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, 37 Vorthach ships were either destroyed or disabled. The remaining 13 ships fled in panic, broadcasting warnings about the terrifying new species that fought like demons and used space itself as a weapon. But the real shock came when Collins opened communications with the surviving Vorthach vessels. Vorthach ships, you are free to leave this system. Turn to your empire and deliver this message. The galaxy has new protectors now. Continue your attacks on innocent species, and we will find you. We will hunt you through every system behind. Every asteroid, inside every nebula. You wanted to see what apex predators look like? Welcome to the food chain. The psychological impact of those words, combined with the impossible defeat they had just witnessed, broke something fundamental in Vorthach military thinking. For the first time in their history, they retreated not because of superior numbers or firepower, but because they were afraid. News of the battle spread through both the Vorthach Empire and the Galactic Confederation faster than hyperspace. Travel should have allowed. Among the peaceful aliens, it sparked hope that had been dead for months. Among the Vorthach, it sparked something they had never experienced before: fear of their enemies. 3 days later, Sergeant Kelly Brooks was leading a squad of Marines through a toxic swamp on the planet Vorthach Prime, demonstrating another human specialty: ground combat. The Vorthach had never bothered to learn planetary warfare because their superior space technology had always been enough. But humans had been fighting on hostile worlds since they first left Earth. A swamp that could kill most species was just another Tuesday for troops trained in Earth's Amazon rainforest. Contact ahead, whispered Corporal Mike Johnson through the CUM system. His voice was barely audible over the sound of acid rain falling on their armor. Vorthach patrol, 6 individuals heading toward the main base.
8.
Kelly smiled inside her helmet. The Vorthach patrol was following a clear path through the swamp, avoiding the dangerous areas where toxic plants and predatory animals made travel risky. It was sensible, logical, and completely predictable. It was also exactly where Kelly had placed her ambush. Wait until they're in the kill zone, she whispered. Remember, we need at least one alive for questioning. The Vorthach patrol walked straight into the trap. They were wearing their standard space combat armor, which made them clumsy and slow. In the planet's gravity, Kelly's team attacked from the supposedly impassable areas of the swamp. The enemy soldiers couldn't react fast enough. The battle was over in 30 seconds. 5 Vorthach soldiers were dead, and 1 was prisoner. But more importantly, Human Squad had captured the enemy's communication equipment and learned the location of their main command base. 6 hours later, Colonel Danny Wright was standing in that command base, looking down at the Vorthach general, who had surrendered without firing a shot. How? The alien asked in broken standard. How did your soldiers survive the death swamp? Our environmental suits failed within hours. Danny looked around the command center, noting how clean and sterile everything was. These beings had never learned to fight in harsh conditions because they had never needed to. General Danny said, quietly, that wasn't a death swamp. That was just a regular Tuesday on Earth. The Vorthach general stared at him in horror as the implications sank in.
Aye.
If humans considered toxic environments normal, what kind of world had created them? Back in space, Admiral Carter was receiving surrender offers from Vorthach fleets across 3 star systems. The empire that had seemed unstoppable just weeks ago was falling apart as their military commanders realized. They were fighting an enemy they couldn't understand, but the final blow came when Captain Morrison opened a communication, channeled to the Vorthach home fleet, and delivered humanity's ultimatum. People of the Vorthach Empire, Morrison began, his voice being broadcast to every ship and every world under their control. Your leaders told you that you were the masters of the galaxy. They lied. You've been bullying children for so long that you forgot what real predators look like. He paused, letting his words sink in across countless alien minds. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop attacking innocent species. You're going to return all prisoners and stolen property. You're going to pay reparations for the damage you've caused. And if you ever threaten peaceful beings again, we will come for you. Morrison's voice grew colder. We know where all your worlds are now. We know your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. We can reach any system in your empire, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. The age of Vorthach expansion is over. The silence that followed lasted for 3 full minutes. Then, one by one, Vorthach commanders began broadcasting their surrender. The war was over. The galaxy's greatest military power had been defeated not by superior technology, but by creatures who had learned to turn every disadvantage into a weapon, every environment into an ally, every impossible situation into an opportunity. The Deathworlders from Terra had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the last Vorthach fleet surrendered, Ambassador Zixtel stood in the observation, the deck of the new joint station orbiting the neutral world of Haven. Through the transparent walls, he could see something that still amazed him every time he looked at it. Human and alien ships working together in perfect harmony. Massive Confederation transport ship was docking next to a sleek human destroyer. The size difference was remarkable. But what struck Zixtel was how naturally the crews worked together. Human engineers were helping repair Etherian systems damaged in the war, while alien scientists shared their advanced materials technology with their human counterparts. Still hard to believe, isn't it? Asked Dr. Susan Blake, joining him at the observation window. The human xenolinguist had become something of a permanent fixture at the station, helping to bridge the communication gaps between species. Every day, Zixtel admitted. 6 months ago, we thought our civilization was ending. We're stronger than we've ever been, Dr. Blake smiled. You were always strong. You just needed to learn a different kind of strength. Through the stations. Corridors, that new strength was visible everywhere. Therian engineers were learning human problem-solving techniques, discovering that sometimes the best solution was the simple one rather than the elegant one. Silicon mind entities were studying human tactical thinking, fascinated by the way humans could see patterns in chaos. Crystal beings were exploring human art and music, amazed by the emotional depth that came from a species that had struggled for survival. But the most dramatic changes were happening on the training. World's Captain Morrison walked through the obstacle course on Training Station Alpha. Watching a mixed squad of aliens and humans navigate a simulated hostile environment, the course had been designed by human military trainers, but it was nothing compared to a real death world. "Come on, Kethmer," shouted Sergeant Linda Hayes as the young Etherian researcher struggled through a mud pit. "Your ancestors crawled out of oceans more dangerous than this." Kethmer, who had discovered the humans in the archives months ago, gritted his teeth and pushed forward. The training was harder than anything he had ever imagined, but he was determined to prove that peaceful beings could learn to be strong. Behind him, Beltar from the Etherian Council moved with surprising grace through the obstacle course. The diplomat had been one of the first to volunteer for human training, saying that leaders needed to understand what they were asking of their people. "The key is not to fight the environment," called out Corporal Tom Wilson, a human trainer. "Work with it. Use it. Make it help you instead of hurt you." Morrison smiled as he watched the aliens slowly begin to understand. It wasn't about becoming warriors, it was about becoming survivors. Humans weren't teaching them to fight wars. They were teaching them to never give up. At the other end of the station, Admiral Carter was meeting with the newly formed Galactic Defense Council. The group included representatives from all 7 Confederation species, plus 3 human observers. The topic of today's meeting was one that would have been unthinkable a year ago. The Vorthach have requested permission to join the Mutual Defense Pact, announced Mordic from the Silicon Mines Collective. Carter looked around the table at the alien faces. Some showed surprise, others showed anger. A few showed something that might have been hope. "What do you think?" Carter asked the group. Kalamith's wings clicked nervously. "They destroyed billions of our people. How can we trust them?" "They've learned what we learned," said Veltar, speaking from her position via video link from the training station. Her diplomatic robes were muddy and torn, but her voice was strong. "They've learned what real strength looks like." General Rodriguez, participating by hologram from Earth, leaned forward. "Admiral, we've been monitoring Vorthach space for months. They've dismantled their offensive fleets and converted them to patrol vessels. They're hunting down the warlords and pirates who used to serve them. They're trying to make up for what they did. But can they change?" asked Sixtel. "Can a species built for conquest learn to be peaceful?" Carter considered the question carefully. 6 months ago, we asked if a species built for peace could learn to be strong. The answer is sitting in this room. The vote was close, but it passed. The Vorthach Empire would be allowed to apply for membership in the new Terran Defense Compact, but only after a probationary period of 2 years. They would have to prove their commitment to peace through actions, not words. News of the decision spread quickly through the galaxy. On former Vorthach worlds, celebrations erupted as beings realized they might have a chance at redemption. On Confederation worlds, there was debate and discussion, but also hope that the cycle of violence might finally be broken. But the real changes were happening on smaller scales, in individual lives. Commander Amy Foster was leading a joint human-alien patrol through the Outer Rim territories when they encountered something that perfectly illustrated how much the galaxy had changed. A distress signal was coming from a system that had been abandoned during the war. "What do you think?" asked Lieutenant Commander Ryan Brooks from the sensor station. "Could be pirates, could be legitimate distress. Only one way to find out," Amy replied. "Take us in, but keep weapons ready." What they found in the system was a mixed group of refugees, former Vorthach soldiers, and Confederation civilians who had been stranded when the war ended. Their ships were damaged, and their supplies were running low. 6 months ago, this situation would have been impossible. Vorthach and Confederation beings would never have worked together. But here they were, sharing resources and taking care of each other's wounded. This is the UES Liberty, Amy broadcast. We're here to help. The response came from a Vorthach captain whose voice carried a tone Amy had never heard from their species before: humility. Human ship, we are grateful for your assistance. We have wounded who need medical attention and ships that require repair. As Amy's crew began rescue operations, she reflected on how much had changed. The Vorthach captain was working alongside an Etherian doctor to treat the wounded. A silicon mind engineer was helping repair a Vorthach fighter. Species that had been killing each other months ago were now saving each other's lives. Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Murphy was giving a presentation to the United Nations about the implications of humanity's new role in the galaxy. The auditorium was packed with representatives from every nation, all trying to understand what it meant to be the galaxy's protectors. The question we face, Dr. Murphy said, is not whether we can defend the peaceful species of the galaxy. We've proven we can do that. The question is whether we can teach them to defend themselves. She activated a holographic display showing the current state of galactic civilization. Green indicators showed worlds that had adopted human training methods. Blue indicators showed traditional Confederation worlds. Yellow indicators showed former Vorthach territories that were transitioning to peaceful governance. What we're seeing is the emergence of a new kind of civilization, Dr. Murphy continued. One that combines the wisdom of peaceful species with the strength that comes from survival. The aliens are teaching us about cooperation, science, and the beauty of peaceful existence. We're teaching them about resilience, adaptability, and the strength that comes from never giving up. The presentation ended with a video message from Training Station Alpha. It showed a mixed group of humans and aliens completing their graduation. Exercise a simulated emergency where they had to work together to save civilian lives on a hostile world. Kethmer, the Etherian researcher who had first found humanity in the archives, was leading the rescue team. His tentacles moved with confident precision as he directed the operation, showing none of the fear that had once paralyzed his people. The training is complete, he announced to the camera. We are ready to protect ourselves and others. Behind him, beings from 7 different species worked together with humans to save lives. It was a sight that would have been impossible just months ago, but now it represented the future of galactic civilization. As the video ended, Dr. Murphy smiled at her audience. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity's greatest export was never going to be our weapons or our technology. It was always going to be our refusal to give up. And now that gift belongs to the entire galaxy. In the months that followed, the Terran Defense Compact grew to include dozens of species. The galaxy became a safer place, not because humans had conquered it, but because they had taught others to conquer their own fears. The Deathworlders from Terra had indeed arrived. Their greatest victory was not the wars they had won, but the peace they had made possible. In the end, the most dangerous species in the galaxy had become its greatest teachers, showing the universe that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the refusal to be destroyed. And in the archives of a dozen worlds, new entries were being written about the species from the blue planet, the ones who had looked at an impossible situation and decided to make it possible instead.